The following podcast contains spoilers.
This is the Buntarelli Show.
What's up, Bob? I think you definitely made some momentum here. We're definitely coming along with the storyline. Definitely a big difference from last episode. What'd you think about it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Right off the bat, as soon as it started, I felt like I knew where we were. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it just started right up. And I think the opening sequence, too, it reminded me of the movies. I actually checked again. I went to watch it again today, and it started up. And I did click on the show, right?
Yeah.
It's something about how that big garage opened in the beginning. Reminded me of, like, the rebels on whichever planet when they were doing their battle.
Yeah, it was Tatooine and the Empire Strikes Back when they go to rescue him. Yeah,
Yeah.
It didn't look exact at the end of Mandalorian when they showed the downstairs thing for some reason, or maybe it was the angle. But yeah, now it looked like straight up Jabba's palace. Even they did a little walk up to the desert, and it looked like when R2-D2 and C-3PO were walking down to it. So yeah, they captured it perfect, the look and everything. Oh, they showed us the Sarlacc pit because I'd seen that in the trailers. I'm like, did they get a new Sarlacc? Because Luke killed the old one. So I'm like, okay, we're going to see some new interesting creature. Or, the Sarlacc back in the day was like this stop motion. It was really, behind its time almost. It was just a stop motion. I'm like, wow, I'd like to see one that looks like, really well done. And ended up being nothing there. So at least it was consistent storyline. But so they finally got to the mayor. I learned something interesting about the mayor because I was actually just now, before we started, I was looking at the IMDb. It's not Pedro Pascal. It's Robert Rodriguez, who's the one of the executive producers. So, the guy said that directed the Boba Fett's first episode of Mandalorian.
But it's funny because when they came on and he's talking, I thought for a second, like, is that? And I'm like, no, that's not him. And I didn't remember that we said that before. We thought that was him doing the voice.
Yeah.
I like that character, though. He was cool.
Yeah, he was very cool. No, even the guys at Rebel Force Radio thought it was Pedro Pascal. It was like everybody thought it was pretty sure it was Pedro Pascal. But yeah, he was cool. That the mayor, he's got a name and everything. And yeah, he didn't turn to be out so cut and dry, the bad guy. The cool part was the twins, the Hutts. Because they mentioned something.
Oh, yeah.
They said the Jabba's cousins are interested. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's just something they're saying for hearsay. For some reason, I didn't have it in my head. But then when I heard the drums, for some reason, I had it in my head. It's like, it's got to be them, the Hutts. Because Fennec Shand had alluded to before the way Jabba was carried down in the big parade and everything. So they kind of set it up. So I was like, oh, but those twins, that was freaking cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And it was the first time I was really digging the Jabbas because I never cared anything for Jabba. I just thought it wasn't the best character in the world. There was just didn't seem to be anything to it.
Yeah,
and I never understood okay, how'd this big blob get in this position if it can't do anything?
Yeah, exactly. I think what they're alluding to too, and we're gonna get to that Wookiee, but I think what it is their whole muscle and their whole power was whatever fortune they came from or whatever, and I think their firepower was the assassins they hired. And however they organized the ring, like Boba was Jabba's guy, and Jabba had a couple other guys besides Boba. And even Bib Fortuna. Bib Fortuna was surrounded by a couple guys. You know what I mean? So that was like the whole, the whole mobster, the actual gangster doesn't go out and do the dirty work. It's just like little henchmen and mobsters and stuff. But
yeah, that makes sense. It's just they got the money.
But you know what it did? It made me appreciate Jabba more. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, even if you didn't see Jabba doing that kind of stuff, you got the idea of that's what Jabba was doing. Okay? And the fact that they present you with Hutts like that, because I realized something. I was like, oh man, I wish we could do Jabba right. And I realized it. The Obi-Wan show is going to take place on Tatooine, where Jabba is.
Oh, yeah.
On the same planet. And Obi-Wan takes place before, Return of the Jedi. So we could see we could see a Jabba in his prime done right, and do it do it really good and just give a little more. And it doesn't take away from Jedi because, like everything else, you're just expanding on something. So when you see Jabba, you got more of an appreciation for him.
Yeah, it isn't just a big old blob. It's starting to, and even without him in there now, even just showing the family and doing this or that, with him, we're still, even though he's not there, we're still, it's like, we're still getting his story, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because I feel like, Jabba's a lot cooler than I thought he was.
As cool as that was, I almost completely forgot about them because that Wookiee came in and just stole the show.
Oh,
in
God.
like 2 minutes.
The Punisher Wookiee. That was the coolest Star Wars
Punisher
character.
Wookiee, yes.
That's exactly
oh, my God. That was the coolest Star Wars character. And done so good.
Yeah.
It was only on screen for maybe a minute or two.
Yeah.
And didn't say a word. And just that look that it gave Boba just the entire time, just that sideways, like, what?
And that hooked me more because I'm like, that's coming. Like him showing down with that Wookiee, because everybody's waiting for that badass Boba moment, and it's like it's gonna be him versus that Wookiee. It's gonna be But that was
they go back to him afterwards when he leaves, and he's still just looking at him. Yeah, was he just looking at him like that the whole time?
Yeah, the Hutt's leave, and he gives him one last like, "Got my eye on you, bro."
Yeah, Like, oh God.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
You know what else I like?
I quit. I'm out.
I think I made a mistake here.
Yeah, I made a terrible mistake. You know what, guys? Hey, go ahead and take it all. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take my buddy.
This is a bad idea. I'm gonna go hang out with the Mandalorian. Go find a sword or something.
Yeah. Where's that one? What's the one bar that's on Tatooine? Everyone's dancing out.
The cantina. Yeah, I'm gonna go head over to
the cantina.
He's gonna join the Max Rebo band. And they pick up my bass. Learn from the Sand People. Speaking of Sand People, we went back to the Sand People stuff, and now that one's starting to hook me in too.
Yes.
And because last time I was saying like, well, what's the end game? Now I almost kind of get it now because you're covering how Boba got into that mental state he's in now. You know what I'm saying? He's still a criminal and everything, but things like honor and whatever code and like that deeper understanding, like the mystic stuff with the lizard, that was really cool. Like you wouldn't expect something like that with Boba. Yeah, Boba's a very grounded character, so to do something like that with him was really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Sand People storyline, and it felt like a Star Wars storyline a lot. Like it had the whole apprentice thing kick in, and it wasn't quite the Force, but then I'm thinking maybe that lizard had a little Force-ness going on. Yeah, so it felt like that type of deal. And I'm watching, I'm like, if the show was this, I could watch him with these Sand People the whole time and be good to go. Yeah, the last time I was like, well, where are we going with this? We're just going to see the stuff we know. Now I no, maybe because like they even said different Sand People tribes. So maybe that tribe, who knows what's going to happen with them, how it's going to affect Boba. I still wonder if something's going to happen in the past that's going to come into play into the future. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like the first episode, there was like townspeople that got like attacked, and you see somebody writing something on a wall, like it's some group of marauders or something. I'm just saying, like, I'm saying it's like, what's, well, what's going to come into play from before to now, because it still could happen. It would bring the whole thing, pun intended, close the book. You know what I'm saying? Bring the beginning to the end. We're going to have to join. Yeah, there's going to have to be a reason that they're showing us this flashback the whole time. And it's funny because it's kind of going backwards because you're seeing him with the Sand People, like maybe becoming a better or more rounded person or whatever. Yeah. But then like the forward, he's the crime boss, and that's the storyline where I'm like, well, this doesn't. How did he get here? Yeah. And I think our first episode, I was kind of hung up on that. Yeah. And after we kind of talked it out and slept on it and everything. Yeah. That's why this one was so good, because I was just like, all right, whatever. You were up to speed. Let's see where it goes. Yeah. Yeah. I was up to speed. And I was over it. Yeah, because the first one wasn't that I didn't know things. Yeah, I was frustrated because I wasn't sure if I should have. That was the part that was bothering me. And I'm like rewinding it, like, am I missing something here? And it's like, no, I missed something. And that's where my frustration came to, because it was like, because I was hard on it, but the reason being was like, because in my head I'm like, I don't think Bob's gonna, and it's no reflection on you. People have heard you on the the Superman show, all the other it's just like I'm like, you're not in the bucket as much as I am. And I'm like, I don't think Bob's going to know exactly where we're at here, which
not angered me because of you. It was like, well, they didn't make this good for the opening layperson. And we talked about that last week, a couple minor things they could have done. But that was my only it was a good episode, but that was my frustration with it. Was like, I'll give you an example. If you think about The Mandalorian, like I sat down with my wife and watched Mandalorian. And she's like, oh, that's a baby Yoda. Da. And then even at the end of Mandalorian, which you would probably know who Luke Skywalker is, but even if you didn't, you saw a Jedi come take Grogu.
Yeah.
So the story ended. You didn't have, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't know who Luke was, you'd be like, oh, happy ending. Grogu's safe. That's the point I meant.
Just a stranger. Yeah, and it's not even a stranger coming in. It was that Mandalorian called him there.
Yes.
So Mandalorian in turn did save them. Mandalorian called in Luke.
Yeah, he brought him to the
so
rock.
He didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that we mention it, had I not talked to you afterwards or looked it up, that's the other thing too, is everybody could just look things up.
Yeah.
But I'd still be a little bit lost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that was my only thing. Just, the 2-minute clip of him falling in a Sarlacc pit again. And, even if you show a different angle or CGI kind of replicate like Luke and Han flying away on the speeder. You know what I'm saying? Just a little something. But
speeders. Speaking of speeders.
Oh, the bikes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool is it to see those again?
Yeah, that was cool. The whole like montage of the training and stuff. That was really good. And then it made you appreciate like his relationship with the Sand People and, like the give and take from the whole thing, which is why they gave him like the gift, the gift with the lizard and stuff. He's got like a tight bond going with them, which is kind of curious to see where they separate their paths. Like what exactly? Yeah. My first instinct is going to be when he's still got to see Cobb Vanth with the armor, and we got to figure out where he stands with that. And then what pulls him away from his group to finally pursue the Mandalorian. I'm wondering if it's going to be something like, well, he knows where it is, so it's okay. Like Cobb's got it, but he knows Cobb is holed up in that town. But when he sees the Mandalorian take off with it is when he goes, all right, well, it's got to be where I can see it at least. That's the question on that.
Yeah, I got a theory about the Sand People. I'm curious if you thought of it.
Okay.
Do you have you thought about what's underneath the masks for the Sand People? I think the one of them that's training him is going to be the girl that he's working with now. I think that's going to be one of the Sand. It's going to end up being one of the Sand People.
No, because see, it's hard to. So much happened, but Fennec Shand was originally, an episode of Mandalorian. That was a job the Mandalorian had to pull, was capture Fennec Shand, and then he some other dude shoots her. She's left for dead, and Boba comes and rescues her. So we know that scene. Like you see a foot come up to her, and people were theorizing maybe it was Boba, and then it turned out to be Boba. I thought you were going to say it's a bunch of clones, because that still hasn't come into play yet.
Cool too.
Because
like reject clones.
But the clones would all look like Tamora Morrison. And then all of a sudden you would dress that part. They haven't really dipped their toe into that too much as a clone. But that's what I forgot to say was the cool thing I liked about the lizard was it goes back to his Camino roots with showing young Boba. But the other cool thing it did was it showed the Sarlacc pit again. And I think that was good because they didn't just make it like, oh, he got out. Like they made it, I don't know, from that 2-second scene, like they made it seem like, okay, that really messed him up, like mentally.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a throwaway thing that he just got out. I took it like, no, this is he's watching his father fly off. His father dies and the Sarlacc pit. So it does show too that the Sarlacc pit, without so much spelling it out for you, was a dramatic thing for him. And it's another part of who he is now. Yeah,
it wasn't like a soap opera, just like wipe the slate clean. Like, oh, he was really alive the whole time and then just forget about it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it was, you thought he was dead for a reason because he should have been. Yeah. This was crazy in there. Yeah. He was inside this thing's stomach.
Yeah. I mean, that would traumatize anybody. I mean, he is, I mean, he's like physically scarred from it until he does a couple back to tank jacuzzis and then he's good again. Which is why he's like constantly,
one of those.
Which is cool, which kind of gives a thing like, why is he constantly in it? Because he's still healing up from that. And that's the flashbacks. And also from a storytelling perspective, we kind of get what's coming now. Now we could, instead of it just randomly flashing from back and forth. Because like if you think about The Godfather 2, when you flash back to the past, it's a whole different setting and whole different characters. So you're never confused.
Yeah.
But it's the same guy in a different time period. So the scarring helps and the sand people and all that.
Yeah, and that's what's throwing us off a lot in the first one. I hate to keep going back to it, but that was and also how he came up and he said he's having the dream again. And that's when I started thinking, like, wait a minute, is this is this two timelines I'm watching?
Yeah.
Or is he just, tripping or something and he's having these hallucinations that we're watching?
Mm-hmm.
But, once I got past that, but that didn't help. I don't know why they threw that line into the first episode.
Yeah, it's like the dreams of the past again. Because did something happen back then that also, that's another thing. Like, is there something else bigger there that we're not missing? Something else happened at that time period, which would be the payoff from it, Yeah, the train, the drive-by.
We didn't talk much about the train.
Yeah, the train. So it was like this. I thought it was a random drive-by. And then I was like, I thought somebody was actually attacking them. But they were smuggling spice. But that was cool because they did a whole teamwork building up. A lot of it reminded me of Dances with Wolves when there's teaching like the Indians how to use guns and stuff. And especially the dance at the end. But yeah, he's becoming one with the people. Yeah. But he's like, we're going to learn how to do this. And I'm going to teach you. And we're going to work out the plan. And they did it because the sand people are pretty good at whatever technology they come across. They just don't have the resources. They don't have the technology. But even in A New Hope, the first one, they have shotguns and they're, bent over, pierced behind a mountain. So these are all things we've seen before with them. And they take whatever technology. And I also like how they differentiated the different tribes. It's almost like Indians. It's like you have your more violent one. You have your more peaceful one. Some of them are just attacking people, it still keeps consistent with Luke just getting mugged by a bunch of sand people. But this tribe just happens to be a more like pacifist, whatever tribe. Well, not so much because they did kidnap Boba and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, they did kidnap him. Yeah, I like how they're just kind of letting that one go.
Yeah,
that's cool.
By the way, I'm cool with you. Which one of you punched me in the head that time?
Oh, but the train itself.
Yeah.
Was awesome, and it was cool too because when they're looking at it from afar, and you're like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "All right, is this going to be what's going to come out the sand?" Because we just seen the that cockroach looking thing come out the sand, and we've seen those dog animals. So I'm thinking it's going to be one of those animal type things, and then it turns out to be this cool looking train.
Yeah, and
I thought that was awesome, and I thought that was a great action sequence.
Yeah,
the whole thing. There was a lot in this one episode. They filled in a lot of stuff, and the flyers too, or the bikes or whatever they're called. Those when he got those, the fight in that bar was awesome. That was just a great straight up fight scene. Just high level. We see this a lot with the Star Wars shows and everything, and some with the Marvel shows too, and that's why we're liking it so much. Is because it's really movie level fight scenes.
The cool thing is when you went to the sand people stuff, I wasn't like, oh man, we're doing this again. Can't we go? I was actually into the sand people stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't now sure. Okay, now I like both these storylines that are going on. So it's actually cool because you're getting two cool shows going.
A lot of cool droids. I like the droid train driver and
yeah.
Oh, and then there was that one big Muppet elephant too. You remember that one? There's a big I can't remember from Sesame Street what the elephant's name is.
Oh, Snuffleupagus?
Yeah, there was a Snuffleupagus.
The ones that the sand people were riding?
Yeah, and every time they went to touch it, it sounded like it went oh no. I can't remember exactly how he did it, but every time, did he just say oh no?
Yeah, those are the banthas. But yeah, that's what those are from the first Star Wars. Even before George Lucas put in the CGI ones, they had big old puppets that the sand people were riding on. So yeah, that's that. OG Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking it. But I just thought because it just gave me that, we were talking last week about how the droids, they all have that look.
Yeah, the practical
60s technology. Yeah, the practical robots. It's they still have that one with these Muppet elephants to where it's okay, it's a Star Wars thing, but it doesn't look cheesy at all. It's not like you see the hand or the strings or nothing, but
yeah,
it's you know what I mean. It's just because we know it's oh okay, it's it's keeping with that look.
Yeah,
which back to the Wookiee. I'm curious how it was done, because I mean, just so I don't know if it was CGI this much or if it was just
No, it's
what it was, but
those
it
are
was done
straight
well.
up. I mean, that's like Chewbacca. That was a costume. And if you go back to Chewbacca, I mean, he was a guy, and there's some point where like the furry mask melds with makeup to really get on his eyes. You know what I mean? Like, to
The eyes.
to flush
that's
his,
what did it.
yes, to flush his face. And I think it's pretty much his real mouth too. And then everything else is just mask. So it's just like it's the most real. It's straight up costume, which is
Should be a show right there. You could have a show on that guy. That's the next. You know what that is? That's our baby Yoda.
Yeah,
That's Boba Fett's baby Yoda, where it's like you just got that one, like, all right, that's a doll everybody's buying. Oh, Fennec is the girl.
Yeah, Fennec Shan is the girl. Yes, that's Ming Na Wen.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know about her. We started getting into it last week. I asked your thoughts on her, and then I forgot to say mine. I wasn't sure. She's growing on me, but I see her in she's one of those people I see in a lot of things.
Yeah,
she just doesn't add anything. Like there's just I don't know if it's how she's written or how she plays it. But there isn't really like, I don't know. I just know that she works for him. That's all I get.
In Mandalorian, they pretty much established her as an assassin, a bounty hunter, and I think what the real thing is she's a good sounding board for Boba, because if you didn't have her on the show, who's Boba talking to?
Who's he talking to? Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just standing by himself, like I'm in charge here. So it's basically that. But she's already has like the history. At least she's not a strange character that you brought out of nowhere, because they kind of developed her during, The Mandalorian. So it's like somebody you built a little pass to, which is pretty simple. She's an assassin.
So cool. It's so cool seeing all the. I mean, there's a lot of that in the one episode where we're seeing a lot of Easter eggs or what. I don't know if that's an Easter egg, but we're seeing a lot of the Star Wars movie characters again.
Well, and the other thing is Tatooine. You just seen it so many times in the movies, because it was like it's where the movie started. It's where Luke grew up, and it's where Jabba was holed up, and it's also where Qui-Gon found Anakin. So there's all that.
Yeah.
They made so much history with that one planet. It's really the planet that's been covered the most as far as all of Star Wars. Because you go to the other planets and you figure, okay, Hoth is just that ice base, and Mustafar is just, where Anakin fell and everything. But this Tatooine, like, you got a bunch of different towns and areas and different things.
Yeah. And I'm finally at the point to where I see it. I'm like, okay, that's Tatooine.
Yeah.
Because before I was just, I just wasn't realizing it was the same place a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Oh, but that reminds me, there was 2 characters in there that I thought they were going to delve more into, and I bet they turn out being important. It was the 2 people that when Boba Fett went in to get those when he went to steal the bikes. What are they called? The X-Wings?
The speeders. I think they're land speeders. Yeah.
When he went to take those 2 people that were in there.
Yeah.
I bet those turn out to be relatives of Luke's or something for some reason. I don't know why. It looks like they're showing them, like, I bet there's going to be more to these 2.
They're not going to have much to do with Luke, because Luke is just like, even his uncle and aunt aren't his real uncle and aunt. Like, Uncle Owen is just like the son
like
of the guy
fosters.
that married the guy that remarried Anakin's mother.
Maybe
Owen.
not blood family, but I think they might be tied to that family, because they had a certain look to them, and the guy's haircut looked like a 70s haircut. I'm like, they're trying to make him look like someone. And I was trying to think. I thought maybe that was going to turn out to be somebody from the movies that when they were younger. Or something, because I get the timelines mixed up still, even doing the show.
Well, I think what it is, they try to keep the people looking consistent. You know what I mean? So,
which makes sense.
Even though the haircuts were in the 70s, they're saying like, okay, this is what people in Tatooine look like. They look like they're from the 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have these.
Yeah, no, that's just the planet. It's not because it was a 50-year-old movie.
It's gonna look like the 70s
Tatooine.
forever. It's gonna.
Yeah.
even though it is 30 years later, so you would think they changed their style or something, but nope, same stuff.
Yeah. Nope. The aliens, they all wear bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Aliens all wear bell bottoms now.
I like the direction we're in now. Like I said, I'm fully engaged in both stories, and now I'm definitely good to see where they're going. So, Bob, always great having you on the show.
Yeah, man.
We will see you guys.